Welcome to How to Draw a Residential Site Plan using AutoCAD. This is Lesson 11, Printing to PDF. What I'd like you to do is to start AutoCAD, open Site Plan 10, and then save as to Site Plan 11. So we'll just create a new file, Site Plan 11. And of course I did this once before, so I'm just going to replace that. So here we are in a layout, which is paper space. We have a sheet size of 8.5 by 14, which we created previously. And what I'd like to do is to give a name to that particular configuration for the layout. So we're going to go to the Page Setup Manager. So if you go down to the Layout tab, Layout 1, right-click on that, and then choose Page Setup Manager. Inside of Page Setup Manager, you can see we have the name of the layout that we're previewing. And what we can do is choose the New button to create a new named page setup. So what I like to do as a naming convention is to give it the paper size in the name, and then also the plot device that it's going to be plotting to. So this is PDF. And also, if I'm going to convert this to purely black and white, or if I'm going to print this in color, I might have two separate configurations, one for color, one for black and white. So in this case here, we'll just make it color, and so I'll just type that in. So it's good to stay organized and help you remember what you have for the settings assigned to this particular configuration just by putting some of those key elements in the name. So I'll click OK, and now we go right into the Page Setup Manager. And you can see that the name is now applied. Previously that was set to none, and now we have the DWG to PDF, that's the PC3 file, that's the plot configuration file. And we have that set up so that it's going to be plotting to a custom paper size. So we had to configure this with a custom paper size in the properties. We won't get into that now, so you can see that there's the legal size. This is the name of the custom paper size that we gave it. So even in the naming convention here, we identified what size it was and also gave it the actual dimensions in inches. And now just to review some more details in this dialog box here, you can see we'll just go on the left-hand side and a little bit further down. The plot area, what to plot layout. So the layout, that just means what's shown in the white background here. The plot offset from the origin, that would be the lower left-hand corner, assuming that's at 0, 0, and then you might have some kind of an offset. Usually you want to keep that at 0 unless things don't exactly fit on the paper. But I've got some philosophy to share with you about that. So a little bit further, looking at the plot scale here, you're always going to be plotting at a 1-to-1 in models, in paper space. And so that means it's 1 inch equals 1 unit. But the units are measured in inches in paper space. So 1-to-1 is the ratio, and there's no scaling involved. The scaling happens in the viewport. So the viewport is an object in paper space. So just working our way around the circle here, we've got the drawing orientation is set to portrait, which is good. If you do have some parts of your drawing that you'd like to fade out and you've assigned a transparency to that, what I like to do is just enable plot transparency. So that way, if something is supposed to be somewhat opaque, then it's going to be not completely solid when it's plotted out if it has the transparency. We don't have to worry about shading things in here. The plot style table, we're in a color-based plot style, and typically what we want to do is the thinking about this is to have the line weights assigned in the layer settings and not necessarily driven by the plot style table. If we dig into the plot style table just to give you an introduction to that, just click on the drop-down list and choose the AutoCAD CTB file. So color-based plot style table is CTB, what that indicates. Now, when you click on this little editor button here, that'll open up a separate dialog box, and in the form view, that's probably the most convenient way to look at this, you can see that the color represents some specific settings. So when the plot command finds a specific color it needs to plot, then these settings over here are going to be driven by the plot style table. So any of the overrides to the default would be placed here. So actually this is the plot style table is how you convert the color into a black and white, because you can just reassign everything to black for each color, and that's how you produce a monochrome output. There's actually a plot style table called monochrome that converts all these colors to black. So we're just going to worry about color for right now, but you can see that there's dithering, grayscale, screening, line type, line weight, and lots of goodies in here that you can control that would make the output to your specific flavor of liking. But just keep in mind things like the line type and the line weight, you should have those driven by the layer settings. That's a more practical application, and that way if somebody gets a hold of your drawing, they don't have to be completely reliant upon this plot style table, like a custom plot style table, to get the same output that you got from plotting on your computer with that custom plot style table. So better to make your drawing easier to use by somebody downstream from you just by having all of those settings as a layer setting. So I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to hit cancel. And that was our discussion on the AutoCAD CTB. If you want to leave that as the setting for the configuration for this name page setup, then that's perfectly fine. Because we're setting this up to plot in color, and the AutoCAD CTB file does just that. It is a pass-through for all of those settings that come through on the layer. So we're going to click OK here, and then we're back to the Page Setup Manager. Now, if you take a look at this label here, this is the plot style that we had just created, and this is the name of the layout. So the layouts are always going to be prefixed with this asterisk, and what you can do is you can highlight the name page setup and then click on Set Current, and what that does is it applies those settings as the default settings for the layout. And so you can see that in parentheses, the name page setup is what is being assigned to this layout. And we can click on Close right here. So another matter of housekeeping is we can give this layout a different name. So you can right-click on Layout 1. You can choose Rename. And of course, it's just like Excel. It just highlights the tab, and that's what you're going to be typing in. So we can just call this Site Plan. And that way it won't be confused with any other type of document that you might produce. So this will be Site Plan. And Layout 2 is not being used, so we can actually do some more housekeeping here and just delete that. There you go. So you have to have at least one layout in a drawing. So you won't be able to delete this final layout here. And of course, you can't delete the Model tab as well. All right, so with those changes, we can save our drawing. You can practice by doing a Control-S on the keyboard that executes a Q save. Just remember that the Q save is also up here in the quick access toolbar, and also on the application menu you have the save command. Now when you hover over that, you can see that it's just calling it save, Control S, but it's really executing a quick save or Q save command. All right, I'm going to hit escape to clear that menu. Now the next thing that we want to do is turn off the PDF that's in the background. So that PDF underlay, we don't want to plot that. We were using that as background information so that we could check what we're drawing and duplicate that content. But now that we're finished with it, we need to turn that off. Are we in model space or paper space? Just a little pop quiz here. Oh, how do you know? You looked at the status bar, and on the status bar it said paper, so you're in paper space. Another clue is that your crosshair outside of the drawing is still a crosshair. It's not a Windows pointer like an arrow. And if you cross over and into the viewport area, then it's still your crosshairs. But when you click on the word paper and then you toggle that to model space, well, what you've done is you've activated this viewport. So the viewport has this heavier line around the perimeter of that, indicating that that's the inside of the viewport where it's actually in model space. And if you move your cursor outside of that, then it's just a Windows pointer. And also on the status bar, you've got the word model. So thus the status is you're in model space. The PDF underlay is in model space, and so that's how we select that. You want to find the frame of the PDF underlay, and when you hover over the frame, you get a tooltip, so that's pretty good feedback to identify what you're selecting. So you do a left click on that, you've selected the PDF underlay. Now what we're going to do is toggle off its display by the show underlay button here. It's just toggling that information. And there you have it. So we've got the just the content that we've drawn in paper space and also in model space. The combination of the two is what's going to be plotted to a PDF. What I can do is just go back out to the paper space by double clicking outside of the viewport. So when I double left click on that, you can see we've toggled back to paper space. We could just double check the scale of the viewport, so I can grip on this viewport here. Now I've selected the viewport, and you'll see that the status bar changes, and I have the 1 to 20 scale set here. Notice how it's grayed out because the viewport is locked. And locking that viewport just allows me to pan and zoom while I'm inside of the model space. And it won't change the scale of the viewport, so it fits right on the paper. So once you have that display adjusted, it's a good idea to lock the viewport. Let's see, this is on a layer that is called viewport. So you can see what I have selected here. And then on the Layers panel on the Home tab in the ribbon, there's a drop-down list. And this drop-down list will display the layer of a selected object. When I hit Escape and I have nothing selected, it shows me the current layer. The current layer is what is used for objects that we add to the drawing at the moment. So I'm currently on the Labels layer, but if I grip on the viewport, it's on the viewport layer. Now, if you recall, if we go to Layer Properties Manager, now you can see Layer Properties Manager has that blue background to it, indicating that it's already open. And you see Layer Properties Manager is right here. That's in a auto hide condition where it just shows the title bar, and when you roll over the title bar, then it displays the list of layers. Now, what I wanted to tell you about this viewport is the viewport layer is set to no plot. So it's got that little round circle in red next to the plotter icon, if we stretch out this column, then you can see the word plot. So plot and print, they're interchangeable. Plotter is just a leftover from when print devices for large format media used pens. And so the pens were in a mode of plotting rather than printing. So when printers came around, that was like laser printers, then it was more of a raster type of operation, rather plotters pushing pens around. That was a vectorized operation in the hard copy devices. Just a bit of history there for you history buffs. Okay, so we're all done with the Layer Properties Manager. Just wanted to point out some things on there. I guess I could point out a few other things. Here's the color that we've assigned to some objects. So we're expecting the building to be red when that's plotted to the PDF, and the property line is going to be blue, so we're going to make sure that we're aware of that. We also have the line type set to continuous, except for a couple are set to dashed or center. And then the line weight. Right now the line weight is all set to default. And so we'll come back to this, and we can see the differences when we assign line weights. So heavier line weights for things that might be more important than others. And so right now the default line weight is set up for, I believe it's 0.25 millimeters, but we can just left click on that to see what it's set up. Now this is kind of odd that we're displaying this line weight in millimeters. Well, that goes back to the old ink pens that were used way back in the good old days when we were setting line weights based on pen tip sizes. So that's a carryover from the manual drafting days here. So you can switch the units over to inches, but we're just going to leave it as the millimeter settings here, just because some people have built into their CAD standards the line weight set up for millimeters to match what they had been using as a manual drafting. Of course, that's in the distant past now. So I'm going to click OK here. We'll just leave that as the default. So the default is 0.25 millimeters, and we'll probably see that in another dialog box. But just as a brief discussion right now to kind of wrap up everything that you can see inside of the Layer Properties Manager, that's all we need to discuss for right now. Okay, so if the viewport is not going to plot, then we don't have to worry about that showing up on our PDF output. I'm going to hit Escape to clear the grip on that. And now what we want to do is find a plot command. So that's something that you can type in on the command line. The Quick Access Toolbar usually has a printer icon up here indicating that you're going to be executing the plot command. So plot in the bold letters is the command that you would type in on the command line. So AutoCAD is, as a reminder, is a command-driven program. So all these commands that you see in the menus here can also have their equivalent typed in on the command line. Okay, so we're going to print this to PDF. You see that we have the Page Setup Manager. We visited that, and now we're going to have something similar to that when you click on the plot command. So you'll have a plot dialog box, and notice how you have the name page setup right here. So that's what is assigned to the layout, and that's just a convenient way to pre-configure all of the settings that you see in the plot dialog box. So we just did that in a Page Setup Manager dialog box, but the settings are identical. So we're plotting to the PDF device here, the legal size, 8.5 by 11, layout, So all these goodies that we reviewed previously are all ready to go. Now you can click on Preview, and the preview will kind of give you an idea of what's going to appear on the PDF. So you'll see that we've got all of the colors displayed here. And now what you can do is you have this magnifying glass, and that just allows you to zoom in a little bit closer if you need to. You see how you left click and you just drag it up and down to zoom out and zoom in. You can roll the wheel mouse to zoom in and zoom out, just to take a look at things. What you will notice is as you zoom in, there's line weights that are being applied. And so that's why the lines get thicker as you zoom in. And so they're maintaining their distance across the page relative to the scale of or the dimensions of the piece of paper. So when you say it's 0.25 millimeters, it's actually going to measure 0.25 millimeters across the piece of paper. So that's the desired output. So the same is applied for text height. When you say that the text height is going to be 0.1 inches high, then when you plot that to the PDF, that's the output that you're going to see when it's actually printed to a piece of paper. Is the height of the text will be 0.1 inches. So that ties into our annotative scaling. When you're all done previewing, then you just simply do a right click and you get a shortcut menu. In that shortcut menu, if you choose exit, it doesn't really cancel the command, it just exits the preview and sends you back to the plot dialog box. So clicking on preview gets you back in there. Right click exit will go back to the plot dialog box. If it looks okay, then you could just click on plot from here and it'll start the plot process. But let's just click on exit so I can show you what happens when we just click OK here. So you're satisfied with the preview. You've taken a look at all of the settings in here. When you click OK, then it prompts you for a file name. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the shortcut here to drill right back into our folder. And we have the site plan sketch. Remember, that's the PDF underlay is in our residential site plan folder. When you hover over this location, this folder name, the tooltip shows you the full path name. The site plan 11 is the name of the drawing, dash, and then site plan, that's the name of the layout. Right now, I won't change anything, although it is kind of redundant to have that in there. And we'll just click on the Save button, just to show you how that is formatted. Now what happens is it immediately plots to the PDF, and it also automatically displays that PDF and whatever software that you've assigned to automatically display the .pdf file extension in a Windows environment. So we don't need any stuff on this side of the screen, but we want to take a look at this side of the Adobe PDF Reader because it has some output that we've included in our settings. So if you take a look at the page thumbnails, then of course you can just navigate. If this was a multi-page sheet, you could go from sheet to sheet there. There's some bookmarks. So the bookmark is again just another way to navigate. You have attachments. There's no attachments, but if you click on this icon here, that shows you the layers. So these are the layers that are inside the drawing, and they're also made to control visibility in your PDF. So if you happen to have like a building that you displayed here, and then you didn't want to display the building, well, this little eyeball right here, you can just hide that, and you can see that the building is turned off. So, you know, that could be just another way to print out some alternate views of just your lot outline and the setback line, and maybe just hand sketch on some other building footprint options that you might want to discover and just play around with. So you can do that with the PDF. It's just layer visibility control. If you didn't want all those labels on there and just wanted the line work, you can toggle that off. So now you can see that the value of having maybe a couple of different layers for labels, maybe one for dimensions and another one for just lot lines, and another one that would just be for lot identifiers, like lot numbers. So it just gives you some more flexibility of what to display and what not to display, rather than just having everything on the same layer. But we wanted to simplify our example at this point. Now you can start to see that there's more that we could do with this drawing to make some improvements. Okay, and this is all in the PDF file that's been output. And so that's what you see for controls in the PDF environment. If we actually take a look at the PDF itself, you can scroll in and scroll out just by holding down the control key and then using your wheel mouse. And we can just take a look at the top part of this and see if we have everything's looking nice and clean for our display. It looks pretty good here. These check boxes, if you had some more sophisticated PDF software, you could actually activate these into check boxes, and you could put in some blank forms in here if you wanted to make this electronically available for filling out fields in there. And then, you know, as a process automation, there's some software that can read those predefined filled out forms and you know, automatically harvest that data and put it in a database or a spreadsheet. So there's lots of goodies that we can take advantage of in our electronic environment. Okay, so just scrolling down here, you can see that we've got the colors and the line types, and the line weights are all pretty much the same. So as you zoom in closer, you can see the distance across here on the gray line is the same distance across here. There's lines that overwrite, so whichever one was newer was overwriting the older one. So you might have some other preferences for draw order, maybe putting the property line on top of the driveway line. So there's some considerations to think about with that. But for now, it looks like everything that we've drawn here is outputting as expected. So let's just close that down and return to AutoCAD. And then once we're in the AutoCAD environment and we've made a few changes, you can see that there's an asterisk next to the file name here. And when we save the drawing, just by doing a Control S or a Q save, then that asterisk goes away. Now it's time for a quiz. How to take the quiz. Quizzes are intended to help you learn, not feel bad about answering incorrectly. Before you start the quiz, there are two buttons, Replay Last Section and Take Quiz Now. The Replay Last Section button will replay the section from the beginning. Take the Quiz Now will display questions one at a time. You will have only one chance to answer each question correctly. Once you submit your answer, you cannot change your answer. When you answer incorrectly, the segment that contains the answer will automatically start playing. Stop the video at any time, and you could use the table of contents to navigate to any desired segment. Choose the last bookmark in the table of contents to return to the quiz. you can review previously answered questions and continue where you left off in the quiz. Thank you for taking the quiz. I know you did well. Now take a break before you begin the next lesson. Thank you.